This is USVI News, your Virgin Islands connection.
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for USVI News. I'm Emily Matson. We begin today with details of a dire situation in the territory when it comes to the continuous drought we're dealing with. The U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Agriculture is alerting both the farming community and families that the territory is in a drought, and it's asking everybody to please conserve water. The U.S. drought monitors have listed the territory as severe, hence why the department's recommending conservation methods right now. The department's working with researchers from the University of the Virgin Islands and government leaders to ensure drought conditions are being monitored on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis for further understanding of drought impacts across the territory. The severe drought has led to major crop losses, widespread water shortages, and vegetation right now is very distressed. The drought is so harsh, one local livestock farmer said he's lost 10 animals because of it. Again, right now, you're being asked to conserve as much water as you can. On St. Croix, police are investigating a deadly early morning shooting that happened outside of a nightclub. It happened around 12:45 Friday morning outside of the Frontline nightclub. Officers arrived to find a man lying dead on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds. The victims identified as 43-year-old Randy Lockhart. Police are asking anyone with information to call police or Crime Stoppers USVI. And on St. Thomas, a man's arrested at the Cyril King Airport for allegedly possessing a large amount of pot. Police say 25-year-old Christopher T.K. Smith was arrested Thursday morning just before noon after he was found with more than 10 pounds of marijuana. Investigators say Smith was seen picking up his luggage from a Miami, Florida flight. And after a U.S. Customs and Border Protection canine alerted to controlled substances inside Smith's luggage, agents searched his luggage and found the marijuana, which is worth about 10 grand on the street. Smith is charged with possession with the intent to distribute marijuana. Now just might be a good time to take a jaunt over to the British Virgin Islands. Inflation and rising interest rates in the U.S. are actually making this a good time to travel overseas, especially to Europe or the 5 British overseas territories in the Caribbean. Ian Lee reports.
The weather's hot in Europe, and so are the deals. For the first time in 20 years, $1 equals €1.
Oh, it's great. The parity makes it easy for us, and our money goes a lot further now, so we can do a lot more on our trip.
Rising interest rates in the U.S. create a stronger dollar and weaken other currencies around the world. The euro is down nearly 12% since the beginning of the year. It all gives American tourists more walking around money.
We definitely will spend more.
Americans can drop more money from France and Italy to Germany and all the 19 countries that use the euro.
I would definitely spend probably a little bit more than I was expecting to bring home gifts and probably do a little bit more shopping in the wonderful shops.
And if you're a shopaholic, that brand name might be in budget.
It's cheaper to come here and buy stuff.
And those cheaper prices might be here for a while. Economists predict the euro could drop as low as 85 cents in the near future.
And it's not just the euro that is weaker. The British pound is at a 2-year low against the dollar. As we end the week, we're seeing a bit of a spike of COVID-19 cases territory-wide. According to the latest numbers from the VI Department of Health, there are currently 266 active cases territory-wide, with 151 on St. Croix, 83 on St. Thomas, which has decreased a bit, and 32 on St. John. That number has more than doubled over a day in St. John. Many of the positive cases likely from recent St. John celebrations last week, which health leaders had been expecting to see. And as COVID hospitalizations spiked dramatically in Los Angeles County, California, nationwide, the CDC is now warning of a likely increase in new hospital admissions over the coming month. Dania Bacchus reports from Los Angeles, where local health officials are considering a new indoor mask mandate.
Los Angeles County has reached what the CDC defines as a high level of COVID infection as the number of hospitalizations keeps climbing.
Over the past few days, we've had to hold patients in the emergency room for 12, 24 hours until we have beds available in our hospitals. And if we continue at this pace in the next week or two, we may have to go back to those days where we were rationing care.
Health officials say the highly contagious BA.5 subvariant is fueling the uptick. People are getting sick even if they are vaccinated or recently had COVID.
It is so infectious. It's on par with the most infectious viruses we as humans have ever seen.
CBS News medical contributor Dr. David Agus says the variant is able to spread with just a small number of particles.
Before, you needed, say, 1,000 particles. Now it's 100 particles.
If Los Angeles remains in the high category for 2 weeks straight, a mandatory indoor mask mandate will be reimposed in the county. Nationwide, the CDC predicts the number of new COVID hospitalizations will likely increase over the next month. In Wichita, Kansas, hospital officials say while admissions are up, most cases are mild.
They're being admitted to our acute care or not into the ICU.
The CDC says older Americans, those 70 and above, are faring the worst. The hospital admissions rate for that group is nearing last summer's peak.
The CDC adds in Region 9, which includes California, Arizona, Hawaii, and Nevada, the hospital admissions rate for Americans 70 years and older is already worse than last year's summer peak. And at last check, there were 4 COVID-19 positive patients hospitalized in St. Croix and 2 people hospitalized in St. Thomas with COVID-related symptoms, with one of them currently ventilated at last check. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline will launch its new and easy-to-remember number this weekend. This separate line allows for mental health professionals to respond to calls rather than the police or other first responders who would typically answer 911 calls for service. All calls will be routed and answered locally to ensure each counselor is knowledgeable and equipped to help with the necessary resources. The number is 988 and will go live on Saturday, July 16th. In other health news today, more people in the U.S. are dying from synthetic opioid overdoses than ever before. That's according to new CDC data. And experts say many times people who take these substances don't realize they're laced. Here's a look at the numbers.
Another record high. Synthetic opioids were involved in nearly 73,000 deaths in the 12-month period ending in February, according to the latest CDC data. That's more than 2/3 of all overdose deaths in that time period.
I care for a lot of people in the hospital after they've survived overdose, and it's very common for people to tell me that they had actually not intended to use fentanyl at all.
Dr. Trent Hall with the Ohio State University's Department of Psychiatry and Behavioral Health says that's why awareness is so important. While overall overdose deaths remain just below the record high from 2021, deaths involving fentanyl and other synthetic opioids have jumped 85% in the past 2 years.
Fentanyl has come to contaminate our cocaine supply to a great degree, and we're also seeing a lot of manufactured pills that are designed to resemble commonly prescribed medications but are actually fentanyl.
Hall is the lead author of research suggesting central sensitization may be an important underlying factor in people with chronic pain who have opioid use disorder.
Central sensitization can be thought of really as faulty wiring in the spinal cord and brain that amplifies pain.
Hall hopes these results will lead to more targeted treatments for those who are struggling.
The CDC data shows psychostimulants like methamphetamine were involved in about 1/3 of overdose deaths in the 12-month period ending in February of 2022. They were involved in nearly 34,000 deaths. Also, another record high and a 93% jump over the past 2 years.